Hello everyone, my name is Cartroner, and this is something that I've been wanting to do for quite a while now. I'm going to be playing through some of the games from one of my favorite game series, which is Touhou. Now, if you don't know anything really about Touhou, it might seem kind of odd to you that I'm starting with the 6th game in the series instead of something like the first, but the reason I'm starting here is because this is where what most people usually think of as Touhou really begins. This is also the first game to be released on the Windows. The previous 5 games were released on something called the PC-98. Now, this game was released in 2002 and was developed by Team Shanghai Alice, but you should know that Team Shanghai Alice only consists of one member, whose name is Zune. He is the one who writes these games, programs them, does all the artwork, writes the music. Pretty much these games are made entirely by Zune. And it's kind of amazing quality, these games, when you consider that they are made by one guy. Now, these games are vertical arcade shooters, much in the vein of games like Ikaruga. They are also commonly referred to as bullet hell shooters. The games themselves refer to them as Danmaku or curtain fire shooters, which basically means there is going to be a lot of bullets on screen, and these games can be quite difficult. As you see, I'm not going to be taking any of the higher difficulties for this run. I'm going to be playing on the normal. Now, Touhou is set in modern day, and it takes place in a fantasy land called the Gensokyo. Now, the Gensokyo is a place that has been separated from the rest of the world and is now home to all manner of magical and mythical creatures, which are referred to in Touhou as yokai. And Touhou uses yokai as a kind of umbrella term to describe anything that's really supernatural or not human. Now, the Gensokyo is separated from the rest of the world by something that is called the Great Hakuri Border, which is protected by something called the Hakuri Shrine. And the one who works at the Hakuri Shrine is our protagonist of the series, Reimu Hakuri. And her job is really to kind of maintain peace at the Gensokyo, take care of any troublesome yokai, and to protect the Hakuri Border. Most of the Touhou games center around her going to resolve some incident that threatens the peace of the Gensokyo or might be a threat to the barrier. The story of this game is that one peaceful summer in the Gensokyo, a scarlet mist suddenly appears and covers the sky. It blocks out the sun, causing the affected areas to become darkened and cold. So Reimu figures that it's her duty to figure out who caused the scarlet mist and to put a stop to them. The other playable character in this game, Marisa Kirasame, figures that whoever caused this scarlet mist might have some interesting objects for her to collect. And they both set off to find the source of the scarlet mist, which is the Scarlet Devil Mansion. So here we have our two playable characters, the Eternal Shrine Maiden, Reimu Hakuri, and the Ordinary Magician, Marisa Kirasame. In addition, each character has 2 shot types that the player can choose from. The only thing that really changes between which character you choose is the dialogue between bosses and such, and the only really difference in which shot type you choose is the ending to the story you'll get. There is one instance where this does have an impact on the game, and I'll show that off, but really what I'm going to try and do is show off all of the shot types, just to see how each of the playstyles you'll have are and how they are different from each other. But for now, I'm going to be playing as Reimu A, Homing Amulet, and Fantasy Seal. So without any further ado, let's actually begin the game. Stage 1, Scroll of the Fantasy Knight, Mystic Flare. Background music is A Soul as Red as a Ground Cherry. So this is the main gameplay of Touhou. As I said before, it is a vertical shooter. You move your character with the directional keys. Pressing Z will fire your main shot, and pressing X will fire a bomb. Holding down Shift will cause your character to tighten their shot and slow their movements. This is helpful for more precise movement and stuff like micro-dodging. In later games, this will show your character's hitbox as well, which is very helpful for stuff like that. So here we have a mid-boss. The typical structure for the stages in Touhou will go something like this. There will be a first half of the stage, then a mid-boss in the middle, a second half of the stage, and then a boss at the end of the stage. So Reimu's first shot type, the homing amulet, is very true to its name. As you see, it is automatically tracking to an enemy on the screen. It's really helpful more for beginner players, so they don't have to focus on aiming at the enemies, they can focus more on dodging the bullets. But in terms of damage output, it's probably one of the worst shot types there is. I really feel like Reimu in general is more geared towards beginner players. Her shot types are usually wider spreads, so it's easier to aim them, and her movements are usually much slower compared to characters like Marisa, so she's much more easier to control. But anyway, that's the end of the stage. This is the first boss of the game, the Yokai of Dusk, Rumia. Her theme is apparitions stalk the night. So, with each character in the game, we are given a kind of character profile in the manual. Rumia's profile reads like this. Rumia, ability manipulating darkness. Stage 1 boss, a yokai. She is of no importance to the story and isn't up to anything in particular in her life. The ribbon tied to her hair is actually a charm. She can't touch it even though there have been times she has wanted to take it off. There is no evidence of her ability to manipulate darkness in the game, but in truth, the places around her are always dark as night. So the whole deal with Rumia is that she's kind of a joke. Her ability manipulating darkness and her title, Yokai of Dusk, is supposed to sound like something that's more fitting for a final boss, but she is the Stage 1 boss, and rather non-threatening herself. It's supposed to sound odd and not really fit with her character. This is her first spell card, Night Sign, Nightbird. So, spell cards play a pretty important role in the boss fights in Touhou. They're usually more complex patterns than what you'll find in the stage or non-spells, and they usually are thematically linked to the boss in some way. So how the spell card system works is that each boss has a limited number of spell cards. The number in the top left-hand side of the screen shows how many spell cards the boss has left. The health bar at the top of the screen shows how much health the current spell card has left. If you can deplete that health bar, you will get a spell card bonus, but if you are hit by the spell or use a bomb, or the timer at the top right-hand side of the screen runs out, you do not receive that bonus. Once a boss is out of usable spell cards, then the boss battle is over and you win. Now, in Rumia's profile, it's said that the ribbon on her head is actually a magic charm. It doesn't tell us why it's there or what effect it has on her, but there has been a lot of fan speculation as to what it does mean. In fact, one of the most famous fan stories deals with why it was put on Rumia and what would happen if it was taken off. All in all, Rumia is a very easy fight. Her patterns are pretty simple, and once you know what they are, they won't pose that much of a threat to you. The only thing that could be troublesome is her final spell card, Darkness Sign, Demarcation. What's tricky about this is that you're going to have to be moving through these crisscrossing shots while dodging shots that are aimed at you. But really all you have to do for this one is just follow where the crisscrossing shots are going and move to the side when the aim shots are coming at you. And if you can manage that, then this boss fight won't take very long.